Hey, happy Independence Day, movie lovers. Jeffrey Michael here. And welcome to an incredible edition of Jeffrey Michael's Movie Reviews Extravaganza. Yep, that's right. It is the 4th of July as I'm recording this, so happy 4th of July, everybody! Yay! I even got my a t-shirt that has an American flag on it for today, and I can't wait for, barbecue and fireworks and all that stuff that happens later. But just because it's the holidays, that doesn't mean that the movie reviews are going to take a hiatus. And so here we go. Let's get right into it. In this video, I'll be reviewing the movies that were released on June the 15th, 2018. Okay, the first movie that I will review for you all is Incredibles 2, rated PG. It stars Craig T. Nelson, Holly Hunter, and Samuel L. Jackson, and was directed by the incredible, no pun intended, director Brad Bird, who already brought you such great films like The Iron Giant, Ratatouille, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, Tomorrowland, and of course, the first Incredibles film. Now, Incredibles 2 is the long-awaited sequel to the first Incredibles film. You'll remember The Incredibles, right? It's one of my personal favorite Pixar films of all time. The Incredibles, as you remember, was about superheroes. It was actually about a pair of superheroes, Mr. Incredible, voiced by Craig T. Nelson, who had the power of super strength, and Elastigirl, voiced by Holly Hunter, who had the power of elasticity. And the two of them, fought crime together. They got married. But at the same time, though, all the collateral damage that was being caused by superheroes while protecting the world from supervillains led to several lawsuits. And the government eventually initiated the Superhero Relocation Program, which forced all superheroes to go into hiding under their assumed identities only. And so as a result, Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl became Bob and Helen Parr. And they went into the suburban life as a suburban family. They raised 3 kids together. Violet Parr, who has the power of invisibility, that's her teenage daughter, and their little 9-year-old, I think, Dash Parr, who has the power of super speed, and their young little infant, Jack Parr, who at the first film didn't really have any powers that they exhibited. And all the while, they had a dysfunctional family in the first film, and they eventually end up going to an island that's ruled by a supervillain. They battle a giant robot, and they defeat that supervillain, all the while coming together as a family again. A great heartwarming film from the whole family, And so 14 years later, yep, it took 14 years to create a sequel. I mean, what took so long? Pixar likes to take their time, don't they? So Incredibles 2 opens up. It opens up almost immediately after the first film ends, with them going after the Underminer, their latest superhero villain, and supervillain, I should say. And as a result, more collateral damage is caused. And once again, the superhero relocation program is still, initiated. So they're like, you can't be supers anymore. And then in come Winston Dever, who is the owner of DevTech, and his sister Evelyn, who's the inventor who creates all the inventions for their company. And they want to bring in Mr. Incredible, Elastigirl, and their good friend Frozone, or Lucius Best, who's voiced by Samuel L. Jackson. And they want to work together with them. We want to create a public image, get the public back on the side of the superheroes. So the government will retract the superhero relocation program and put you guys back to work. And so they need a good face for their program. And so they select Elastigirl. Wait, what? Elastigirl? Mr. Incredible can't do that? It's like, well, she's the least person. She's a woman, so she's much easier to please the people than a gruff man, they were trying to say. It's like, oh, really? So something against men, huh? Anywho, so Elastigirl gets to get her own Elasticycle, and she goes off to save the world and help the program get superheroes back on good light for the public. And meanwhile, Mr. Incredible has to go and raise his kids in their new home, which is a big mansion on the top of the hill, which the DevTech gave them. And so he's trying to be the stay-at-home dad, begrudgingly, trying to help Dash with math. Why? This isn't the way I did math back in my day. Why do you have to change math? And Violet's trying to date a guy, and he doesn't remember her because he was, blasted with a ray, which made him forget all the events, and doesn't remember her, and she's all upset that she's heart is broken. And Jack, meanwhile, at the end of the first film, started to show signs of superpowers, and now his powers are fully manifested. He's a polymorph. He has multiple powers. He can burst into flame. He can disappear into a different dimension and then reappear. And Bob has his hands full with all these kids, like, I'm trying to be a great dad here, and I'm failing miserably. My baby is disappearing, and I have to use cookies to bring him back. It's hilarity ensues. And meanwhile, a new villain comes about, the screen slaver, someone who hypnotizes people through TV screens. And it really, gives a good metaphor on how technology has ruled our lives practically and turned us into mindless drones. I mean, that's a good point there. Wow. And all the while, they have to once again come together as a family. Elastigirl, and Mr. Incredible and even Frozone, all of them have to work together with new supers to stop the latest screenslaver villain. And can they do it? Well, we'll have to see to find out. Now, first of all, before I begin my review, the first Incredibles, like I said, is one of my favorite Pixar films. It was such a great blend of, a family drama with superheroes. I thought that was a good mix together. What do you call that? A mashup of genres. There we go. And The Incredibles 2, I thought we did an equally great job as the previous film. I think it really, jumps you right back into this world of the Parr family and the whole superheroes that are trying to get back in the good light with the public. And overall, it was, funny, like I said, all those great jokes I mentioned. And there's thrilling action scenes, including one involving Jack Jack the baby and a raccoon. Wait till you see it, it's great. And once again, Edna Mode is back, voiced by Brad Bird, the director. She was the, this tiny Asian woman who designs all the outfits for superheroes. Oh, you darling, I can create a new outfit for your baby. He's a marvel, a wonder. That's great. And, it's got a great action scenes, funny, like I said. And my one quibble, though, I should say, is that sometimes the second movie, the sequel, borrows quite a few elements from the first film. And I thought that was a little lack of imagination there. But just minor quibbles. I mean, it was still a wonderful, super heroic and funny and action-packed movie overall. Great thrill ride for the whole family. So my grade for the first Incredibles film, I gave it an A when it first came out. And this time, Incredibles 2, I give it an A-. I mean, I wouldn't say, it's just a little bit below the first film, but it's still a great film overall. I mean, I would watch either one again, side by side, one after the other. I mean, that's how good they were. I think they were equally good. So if you want to see a great superhero movie that's fun for the whole family, that all adults and kids can enjoy together and just laugh and, be touched and will be wowed by great scenes, then for sure, this 4th of July weekend, everybody can go see The Incredibles. Trust me, you'll have an incredible time if you do go. Again, no pun intended. Moving on. So the next film that I'll review for you is Tag, rated R. It stars Ed Helms, John Hamm, Jake Johnson, Hannibal Buress, Jeremy Renner, Isla Fisher, and Annabelle Wallis, and is a directorial debut of Jeff Tomsic. So Tag is a comedy film that's based on a true story about a story that was published in the Wall Street Journal about a group of 10 friends, all guys, who've been best friends since prep school. And in order to stay connected with each other over the years, they decided to continue on that game of tag that they first played when they were all at prep school. Yep, so every year during the month of February, these 10 friends track each other down, and sometimes in disguises, and tag each other. And there are rules to the game, like you can't tag back, so that person who's it now has to find someone else to be it, to tag them. And sometimes they'll travel across country or, leave their jobs for a bit, on vacation to do it. At the end of February, whoever's still it has to live with the shame of being it for the rest of the year until next February. This is all true, you guys. And so Hollywood got wind of this real-life story, and they thought, oh, here's a great story that we can take for ourselves and bastardize it. Yeah, I'm just kidding, but you get the idea. So the Hollywood story that we're now watching the movie stars Ed Helms as Hoagie. He's the main, guy of this group of friends. And the movie starts off, he takes a job as a janitor at the company where his friend Bob, played by John Hamm, works, all just to tag him. And, he's being interviewed by a Wall Street journalist, Rebecca, at the time, played by Annabelle Wallis. And she's like, what's going on here? Our group of friends has been playing the same game of tag for now 30 years now. And she's all, wow, this is my story right here. I'm going to follow you guys and tell your story, okay? So she follows them as Hoagie and Bob go and track down their other friends, Chili, played by Jake Johnson, and Kevin, played by Hannibal Buress. And it turns out they have another friend named Jerry, played by Jeremy Renner, and Hoagie announces them, Jerry's never been tagged. That's his record, his thing he's known for. He's never been tagged in the 30 years they've been playing. They've all tagged each other, but never him. He's never gotten because he's always managed to escape being it. And so Hoagie announces, he's getting married, you guys, this month. And if he's already said that since he has a perfect record, he plans to retire from their game permanently after the end of the month. Well, you guys, we got to tag him. We got to get him before it's too late. And so, yeah, that's pretty much the whole premise of the movie. These four friends, checked on their other friend and Jerry and try and tag him before the month is up, after his wedding's on the last day of the month. So they have to get him before, the wedding is over. And overall, it sounds like, a great comedy film, right? And it is, to an extent. There's some, the acting is great from all our comedians. Ed Helms is good, and Jeremy Renner is a great job. I heard he actually injured himself, days into filming, and so they had to put him in a sling, and the CGI, it out for most of the movie, so that's crazy. And also, Isla Fisher plays Hoagie's wife, Anna, and she's a little intense. She's very competitive, and she wants to join in on their game, and she also adds some hilarity to the movie. And there's some crazy, outlandish scenes where you see exactly how Jerry's managed to remain untagged or not be it for all these years. He does crazy things where he grabs the guy, wraps the blanket around him, throws him away, or another guy jumps at him, and he ducks out of the way at the last minute, and he's like, wow, he's good. And for the most part, the movie works that way, but there are a couple parts, it got a little repetitive at times, and at times where it just wasn't as funny as it probably could have been. Laughs, maybe a quarter of the movie was laugh out loud funny, but most of it's oh, mild chuckles. But the one part of the movie that I really didn't care for was the ending. The whole movie, they're doing these outlandish, Three Stooges level stunts, to get Jerry or tag him, and it's so funny and over the top. And then the ending was just so subdued, and all of a sudden it got serious. And then, the way that, do they or not tag Jerry or not, I can't tell you that. But the way that it's resolved the whole movie, it just felt so, out of tone. The tone for most of the movie was, like I said, outlandish. And then it was so subdued and serious at the end. It's it felt so out of place. They lifted that ending from another movie that was more serious. And I thought, that's such a letdown, such a soft, lame ending to otherwise, over the top, funny movie, somewhat funny movie, I should say. I don't know. This movie, had potential. The real life story is great. And at the end of the movie, they show you the footage of the real life, 10 friends. There's only 5 in the movie. And of them, playing tag in real life and, the disguises they put on. And that looked like a fun movie to watch. And this movie that they made from Hollywood made out of it is lackluster, I should say. Overall, my grade for it, I give it a C+. It's not great, and it's not really bad. It's just kind of slightly above average. The ending, I thought, really killed it for me. And if you want to go and see this comedy movie, go ahead. But let's just say that if I were, to play a game of tag and, made you it, you'd be like, whatever, I don't care. That kind of, metaphor for it. But anyway, let's move on. All right, the last film from June the 15th that I will review for you is SuperFly, rated R. It stars Trevor Jackson and was directed by Director X. He's a music video director who already brought you such films like Across the Line and Center Stage on Point. Now, SuperFly is a remake of the 1972 blaxploitation film of the same name. In both films, our main character is Youngblood Priest, played by Trevor Jackson this time around. And Youngblood Priest, he's an African-American drug dealer in Atlanta, and he's living the fine life. He lives in a classy upscale mansion, and he's got a girlfriend and another girlfriend. Yeah, they have a menage a trois relationship, apparently. Why not, in this day and age? But he's, getting tired of the whole drug dealing life, and he wants to get out. And so he has to pull off one last job in order to do so, all the while evading a rival gang, a betrayed supplier, 2 corrupt cops, and a Mexican drug cartel. Who knew that getting out of the drug dealing business would be so damn complicated? Anyway, I'm going to make this review short, actually. How many times have we seen this film again? The drug dealer or the assassin or the gun for hire who hates the life and wants to get out, but they can't because, it's difficult to get out of that lifestyle. Really, we've seen this now played many times over the years in films. And unfortunately, this film really isn't that much great after all. I didn't see the original, but honestly, it couldn't have been any worse than this film. I mean, the problem I found with the film is, amid all the carnage, the gunfire, and the blood, and the swearing, and all the other stuff that comes with that lifestyle. I mean, there's nothing about this film that, it tries to go for a serious tone, and it just comes off campy and ridiculous, and you end up laughing a lot of the time, like, really? I mean, it does have some good parts, though, like, it tries to tell, like, as a metaphor at one point, about, corrupt cops, against black men, that kind of message, that goes on today, even. But for the most part, this is the kind of film that you just can't take seriously because there's so much ridiculous crap happening on screen. And I found myself shaking my head, and just like sometimes it got boring, and so I just dozed a little bit, and so I missed a bit of. Just overall, I would give this film a D plus. I mean, that's being generous. I could go lower, but I'm going to be lenient with them because they were trying their hardest, even though they just had nothing much to work with material wise. And so, would I recommend that you all see it? No. Mm-mm. Even for free, like unless you really are into that whole drug dealer want to get out of that business and you can't. There's a lot of bloodshed, and you're into that kind of mindless violence. Then go ahead. Otherwise, no. Even for free, I don't recommend this film to any of you at all. And with that, we're moving on. Tag. Wait, I'm it? To do the recap? Okay. Recap. Incredibles 2, A minus. Funny, touching, action-packed superhero animated film that's fun for the whole family and is just as great as the original Incredibles. My number one recommendation all the month of June 2018. Everybody needs to see this film, please. Tag, C+. Comedy about a true story of a group of adult friends playing tag that's somewhat funny and has a lame ending. You can see it if you want to, but I wouldn't recommend it. And finally, SuperFly, D+. Silly, ludicrous, over the top, can't take it all seriously. Remake of a blaxploitation film about a drug dealer trying to get out of the business that's been done so many times before and done better. I don't recommend this one at all, so don't bother. And that'll do it for another incredible edition of Jeffrey Michaels Movie Reviews Extravaganza. Until next time, happy movie watching, everybody, and happy 4th of July, too. Tune in for my next video when I will review Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.